I never thought one dinner would change my entire life. I was sitting in a beautiful restaurant with my family, laughing, relaxing, and finally feeling like life was slowing down again. Then the waiter walked up behind me and slipped a folded napkin under my plate. I opened it and froze. It said, "Do not eat the food." At first, I thought it was a prank, some weird mistake. But when I looked up, the waiter was staring at me. His face was pale and his hand trembled as he poured water into a glass. He didn't look like someone joking around. He looked terrified. He leaned down and whispered, so low I could barely hear him, "Pretend everything is normal." My heart stopped. I glanced at my family who were already eating. My little sister Jenna laughed about something my dad said. I smiled back at them, trying to stay calm, and in that moment I had no idea that a minute later everything would collapse around me. Literally. Stay with me, because what happened next still feels unreal. Do me a small favor. Subscribe and comment where you are watching from. You are going to need to hold your breath for this one. My name is Nora Ellis, and that night was supposed to be simple. I had been working nonstop for months, drowning in my new job and barely seeing my family. My sister Jenna had just finished college and was finally moving back home. My dad, Kevin, who used to be a police detective, insisted we celebrate properly. "I booked a table at that new place downtown," he told me. No arguing. Jenna jumped in. "Wear something nice, big sister, for once." I rolled my eyes and laughed. "Fine. I'll try not to embarrass you." For the first time in a while, I felt relaxed. The restaurant was warm and inviting, the kind of place with soft lighting, real candles, and a piano playing in the corner. People chatted quietly, silverware clicked gently, and everything felt safe, even too perfect. My dad kept glancing around the room like he always did. He never fully let go of his detective habits. He always taught us to pay attention to exits, faces, and energy in the room. I used to tease him for it. Tonight, I was just happy to be with them. I missed laughing with Jenna. I missed my dad's stories. I missed being present. The waiter who served us was quiet, polite, and looked new. Dark hair, tired eyes, the kind of person who blends into a crowd without trying. He moved quickly, but every time he passed our table, I caught him glancing at us, especially at me. Jenna noticed and nudged me. "Wow, someone has a crush." I laughed and shook my head. "Relax. He probably thinks I look tired." Dad smirked. "Or he's making sure your water glass stays full. Service, Nora, not romance." I didn't think much of it then. I wish I had. When the food arrived, we laughed and talked about old memories. Jenna showed us pictures from her graduation party, and my dad told a corny joke about aging. I laughed so hard I almost choked on water. I remember thinking, why have I been so distant? These are my people. Some moments feel like the calm before a storm. You just don't recognize it until the lightning hits. The waiter came back to our table with a basket of warm bread. He placed it down and his fingers brushed mine, not by accident. When I looked up, he didn't move. He held my gaze for a second. His jaw was tight. His voice shook when he said quietly, "Enjoy your meal." But his eyes said something else. Fear, warning, panic. He slipped a folded napkin under my hand and walked away. I opened it, and the world shifted under my feet. Do not eat the food. Everything inside me locked up. I looked at my dad. I looked at Jenna. They were laughing, eating, completely unaware. And in that moment, the night changed. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Trust me, the rest of this will make your heart race. My throat tightened as I stared at the napkin. Do not eat the food. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to stand up, shout, flip the table if I had to. But fear glued me to my chair. My hand gripped the edge of my plate so tightly, I felt my nails digging into the porcelain. I forced myself to look normal, but I could feel my pulse pounding in my neck. I spoke quietly, barely moving my lips. "Dad." He was cutting into his steak, smiling at Jenna as she told some story about her last day of classes. He didn't look at me, but he heard the tone in my voice. He always did. "Something wrong?" he asked casually, still smiling at Jenna so he didn't draw attention. I slid the napkin under my plate and whispered, "The waiter left me a note. He said not to eat. Dad paused, just a fraction of a second, a trained pause. A pause only someone who lived through danger would understand. Then he chuckled for Jenna's benefit and patted his mouth with his napkin. Nora, relax. This place has 5 stars and a waiting list. I knew that fake confidence. He was processing, evaluating, but he didn't believe the threat. Not yet. Jenna rolled her eyes. Yeah, Miss Crime Documentary. Maybe your YouTube mystery obsession is messing with your brain. I tried to smile, but my stomach twisted. I'm serious. Dad lowered his voice. We're in public. Let's stay calm. I opened my mouth to insist, to beg him to stop eating when movement behind me caught my eye. The waiter, the same young man with tired eyes, was walking by again. His tray shook slightly in his hand. He didn't look at me, but his jaw clenched like he was bracing for impact. I forced myself to glance around the room. Couples laughing, a family with a toddler, a group of co-workers toasting. Nothing looked wrong. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Then it happened. It was subtle at first. Jenna lifted her glass to take another sip of water, and suddenly her fingers loosened. The glass slipped. Water spilled across the table. She blinked in confusion. What the? Jenna mumbled as her hand trembled. A sharp wave of panic sliced through me. I reached for her wrist. Jenna, are you okay? Her pupils dilated. Her face paled. She tried to speak, but her voice sounded thick, like her tongue didn't obey her. Dad dropped his fork. It clattered on his plate. He grabbed the table edge, muscles tense, eyes wide with sudden realization. He turned to me, panic breaking through his calm facade. Nora, do not. He didn't finish. His body slumped sideways, chair scraping loudly as he fell to the floor. A gasp burst from my chest. Dad! Jenna's head dropped forward onto the table, her hair falling like a curtain over her face. Plates rattled. A nearby woman stood up, confused. Someone shouted, "Is she choking?" Chaos spread fast. Chairs scraped. A knife clattered to the ground. People turned toward us, alarmed. A waiter rushed over, but not the same one. This one looked cold and focused, not panicked. Before I could reach for Jenna again, a hand grabbed my arm. The same waiter, the one who warned me, Sammy. His voice was urgent and low. Don't scream. Listen to me. My breath hitched. Fear and confusion collided in my chest. What did you do to them? What is happening? He shook his head sharply. Not me. Them. He tilted his chin subtly toward the kitchen. You need to walk. Not run. Walk with me. I tore my arm away. My family needs help. He grabbed my hand again, tighter this time, eyes burning with desperation. If you stay, you will not survive long enough to help them. They are unconscious, not dead. But if they see you panic or resist, you become the next target. Target. The word cut through me like a blade. Voices rose around us. A man yelled for someone to call an ambulance. A woman fainted at another table. A couple stumbled to the floor. It wasn't just my family. This was everywhere. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might collapse too. Tears forced their way into my eyes. I can't leave them, I whispered, shaking. Sammy's jaw clenched. Your father tried to protect you. Now you have to finish what he started. Finish what he started? The meaning hit me like cold water. This wasn't random. My father wasn't just a retired detective. He had always warned us danger could come back. I just never believed it. Sammy squeezed my wrist. You need to trust me, right now. I stared at him, torn between every instinct to fight and every instinct to run. Another table collapsed. People screamed. Glass shattered. And in that moment, I made a choice I never imagined making. I stood up slowly, forcing my legs to obey, and I let him lead me toward the back of the restaurant. I didn't look back. Because if I did, I knew I would fall apart. I moved with Sammy, even though every part of me felt like concrete and fire at the same time. My blood screamed to turn back and grab my dad and Jenna, drag them out, do something, but my legs moved forward. My mind stuck between panic and disbelief. I kept my voice low and tight. Where are we going? Sammy didn't look at me. His eyes kept scanning the dining room, jaw clenched. To the service exit. Keep your head down. I forced myself not to look at my family collapse on the floor, not to listen to the panicked shouts growing behind me. It felt like betrayal. It felt like walking away from the people I loved most. It felt wrong. But something worse than guilt crawled up my spine. A cold understanding that this wasn't a random tragedy or food poisoning gone wrong. This was intentional. These people didn't collapse by accident. The waiter warned me. Someone knew who I was. Someone targeted us. My voice shook as I whispered, "Why my family? What is happening?" Sammy's grip tightened around my wrist like he expected me to bolt. "Not here. Just trust me until we get outside." The restaurant looked normal to everyone else. The rest of the diners hadn't understood yet, hadn't seen the dominoes falling. Some tables still laughed, unaware. Others stared at the chaos spreading with confusion and fear. A woman screamed as her husband slumped in his chair. Someone shouted to call 911. The air filled with panic, and several staff members, too many, stood still, watching the chaos like they were waiting for the right moment to move. Their calm wasn't human. It was chilling. The back hallway felt narrower than it should have, lights buzzing overhead. My pulse hammered against my ribs. I lowered my voice. "Did they poison the food?" "Yes," Sammy answered quietly. "And the water." My breath caught. "Then why am I still alive?" He paused. His jaw flexed. "Because they needed you conscious." That sentence hollowed me out. Needed me? For what? What do they want from me? Before he could answer, the kitchen doors swung open behind us. Another waiter stepped out. Tall, stiff posture, blank expression. He didn't speak. He just looked at us. Not confused, not shocked. Focused. Sammy's hand shot to my lower back. "Go. Now." We broke into a fast walk, not a run, until we hit the far door. My fingers shook so badly I could barely push the bar. The metal door clicked open, and a rush of night air hit my face. Relief washed through me for 1 second. 1 single second. Then a voice behind us said, low and controlled, "Stop right there." I turned. 2 kitchen staff were walking toward us. One held something small and metal in their hand. A syringe. The fluorescent light glinted off the needle. My stomach dropped like I stepped off a cliff. "Sammy!" He didn't hesitate. He grabbed my hand and ran, pulling me out into the alley behind the restaurant. The door slammed shut behind us. The moment my feet hit pavement, instinct took over. We sprinted, shoes slapping the ground, cold air slicing my lungs. I hadn't run like that since high school track, and never through fear like this. "Keep moving," Sammy ordered, breath ragged. The alley stretched long and dark, dumpsters on one side, cars parked on the other. A motion sensor light flicked on, making everything glow pale and eerie. My chest burned, legs shaking. I choked out, "Tell me, why are they doing this?" His voice came out tight. "Your father wasn't just a detective. He helped take down a private group years ago. Rich, dangerous people. They swore revenge. Tonight they started." My breath shattered. "So they came after him, and Jenna, and me." "Yes, they planned this. They've been watching." I stumbled. "How do you know all of this? How do you know them?" Sammy paused in the shadows, face tense, eyes scanning the street. "Because I used to work for them." The world spun. "What?" "I left," he whispered. "I didn't want to be part of what they do. Your father helped someone escape them once. That's why I owed him. That's why I warned you." It hit me in a wave. My dad's late-night calls, his sudden worry about Jenna living alone, the extra locks he installed at my apartment without asking. He knew something like this might happen. He just never told us why. A loud metallic crash echoed from behind us. Someone kicking open the alley door. Sammy grabbed my hand again. "Move. They don't want police involved. If they catch you, it's over." We darted across the street, barely missing a car. Horns blared. Streetlights flickered. My legs screamed, but I kept running. Sammy pointed ahead. "There, the bakery on West 5th. Police usually park near there after midnight. Just keep going. Do not stop." I tasted metal in my mouth. Terror. Guilt. Rage. A new clarity cut through me. Sharp. Dangerous. Determined. I wasn't just running away. I was running to survive. To fight. To come back for my family. The alley door slammed again behind us. Voices followed. And I realized something that made my skin crawl. They weren't chasing us like people trying to stop a crime. They were hunting us, and I had to outrun the hunt. The street stretched ahead like a lifeline, glowing under scattered street lamps. My lungs burned, my legs shook, and the pavement seemed to tilt beneath me. But I kept running. Sammy stayed just steps ahead, pulling me forward with momentum and raw fear. Behind us, heavy footsteps burst into the alley, followed by sharp voices barking orders. They were coming, not stumbling, not confused, organized, fast, and with purpose. I had always thought if something terrifying happened, I'd hear dramatic music in my head, feel adrenaline in a clean rush. Instead, my heartbeat was messy, my breath ragged, and reality felt painfully sharp. Every small sound stabbed my ears. A car door slam, a passing engine, the rustling of leaves. For the first time in my life, the world felt like it was watching me die. "Sammy," I gasped, "I can't leave them." He didn't slow down. "You are not leaving them. You are coming back with help. That's the only way they survive." Another shout behind us. Shoes pounding pavement. Closer. A voice called out, loud and commanding. "Stop her! She's priority!" Priority. The word punched me in the gut. This wasn't random. They weren't guessing. They were hunting me specifically. I forced my legs harder, pushing past exhaustion, ignoring the burning in my chest. My vision spotted black around the edges, but the bakery sign ahead glowed like a beacon. Yellow lights. A couple cars parked outside. Hope. Just as we crossed the intersection, tires screeched. A black SUV turned sharply into the street, accelerating toward us. My stomach dropped. Sammy cursed under his breath. "They're ahead of schedule. Run between the cars now." I darted between two parked sedans, nearly slipping on wet asphalt. The SUV braked hard, doors cracking open. Two silhouettes climbed out, tall, broad, and walking with quiet confidence. Not random men. Professionals. I ducked behind a truck, chest heaving. The bakery was only 50 yards away, close enough to see the glow from inside, smell warm bread drifting through the night air. So close it hurt. Sammy crouched beside me, eyes scanning like a soldier trained for chaos. "On my signal," he muttered. "You sprint to the bakery door. Do not look back." My voice shook. "What about you?" He met my eyes briefly. "I wasn't meant to survive this night." "You were." Before I could respond, footsteps approached. Quick, certain, no hesitation. Sammy shoved me lightly. "Go." I sprinted. My shoes slapped the ground, breath tearing through my throat. The bakery door grew closer, glowing glass, a soft lamp hanging over it. I reached out my hand. Then something yanked me backward, hard. A hand clamped around my arm, fingers digging into my skin. I twisted, panic exploding in me. A man's face hovered inches from mine, cold, unreadable, eyes filled with something that made my stomach churn. "Going somewhere?" he said softly. I tried to scream, but fear strangled me. My hands clawed at his grip instinctively. I felt myself losing balance, losing grip on reality. Suddenly, Sammy slammed into him from the side. The man's hold snapped loose. I stumbled forward and caught myself. "Run!" Sammy yelled, pushing the man back. I ran. I didn't look back this time. I burst through the bakery door and practically crashed into a table. Two late-night workers jumped, startled. I gasped. "Call the police, please. Someone is trying to kill me." One employee stared at me wide-eyed, frozen, but the other grabbed the phone and dialed frantically. Through the glass, I saw a blur, two figures fighting in the street, Sammy and the attacker, then two other shadows rushing in, more of them. I slapped the window. "Help him!" But I was helpless. I could only watch as flashing red and blue lights suddenly cut through the night. Police sirens screamed, tires screeched, multiple patrol cars flooded the block. Officers jumped out shouting commands, weapons drawn. The men scattered, running like wild wolves caught in headlights. Sammy tried to break free, but one grabbed him, holding a blade to his ribs. "Drop it!" an officer yelled. For a terrifying second, I thought Sammy would die right there. I pressed my hand to the glass, breath shaking. Finally, the attacker released him and bolted. Chaos exploded. Officers chasing, shouting. One tackled a man to the ground. Another cornered two near the alley. Sami collapsed to his knees, hands raised, surrendering before anyone mistook him for one of them. I burst through the bakery door again, tears hot on my face. He saved me. He saved me. Please don't hurt him. Two officers approached cautiously. One put a hand on my shoulder. You're safe now. Medical units are at the restaurant. Your family is being treated. They're alive. The relief hit me so hard my knees buckled. I clung to the doorframe. Sami looked up at me from where he knelt on the ground. Exhausted, bruised, alive. He managed a faint, almost exhausted smile. You made it, he whispered. I nodded, tears streaming. Because you saved me. Police lights flashed across his face. Officers guided me toward an ambulance. Behind me, I heard one officer say, "Secure him. He's a key witness." And in that moment, with my body shaking and my breath unsteady, I understood. Tonight wasn't the end. Tonight was only the beginning. The ambulance lights flickered against my skin as I sat on the curb, wrapped in a gray blanket that did little to stop the shaking. The night air smelled like rain and adrenaline. I watched officers move through the street, talking into radios, taking statements, handcuffing the men they managed to catch. It felt like watching a movie from underwater. Voices muffled, movements slow, colors strange. My mind was there, but my body was far behind, trying to catch up to the danger I had just outrun. A paramedic knelt beside me. You're dehydrated and in shock. Sip this. He offered a bottle of water, but my hand shook too hard to take it. He set it beside me and spoke gently. Your father and sister are stable. They're conscious now. Those words hit me like sunlight after a storm. Relief didn't feel like joy. It felt like collapse. My chest loosened just enough for a sob to break free. I covered my mouth, shoulders shaking. They were alive. They were really alive. A police officer approached, notepad in hand. He crouched down to meet my eyes. Miss Ellis, can you answer a few questions? I nodded. My voice came out rough. Yes, I can try. He asked what I saw, what the waiter told me, why I didn't eat, when I noticed something wrong. Each question felt like peeling back a layer of my own panic. I explained everything slowly, replaying details I never thought would matter. The waiter's trembling hand, the glance he kept throwing towards the kitchen, the way the staff didn't panic when others collapsed. They weren't confused, I whispered. They were waiting. They knew. The officer nodded grimly. We believe you. This was coordinated, planned, targeted. A chill ran through me again. Another officer walked Sami toward a squad car, not in cuffs, protected, not detained. I jumped up, calling his name. My legs wobbled, but I steadied myself. He paused, exhausted eyes lifting to meet mine. You saved them, I said, voice breaking. You saved me. He gave a weak nod. Your father once protected someone who didn't deserve to be abandoned. I remembered that. I frowned. What do you mean? Sami glanced at the ground. He spared someone who worked for them. Me. I left because of him. I owed him this. My breath caught. My father had never mentioned that story. He quietly protected someone, and that kindness returned tonight in the most unexpected way. You're a good person, I told him. His expression tightened, somewhere between pain and pride. I'm trying to be. Officers escorted him into a car so he could give a full statement at the station. As he disappeared into the night, I realized that heroes don't always look noble. Sometimes they look tired. Sometimes they look scared. Sometimes they hold your wrist a little too tightly because they're afraid you'll freeze. And sometimes the only reason you're breathing is because someone who didn't have to care made a choice to. Hours later at the hospital, I walked into the room where my dad and Jenna lay in side-by-side beds, pale but awake. When Jenna saw me, she burst into tears and held out her arms. I rushed to her, hugging her like I could glue us back together with pure fear and love. Why didn't you warn us sooner? She whispered, voice trembling. I pulled back, looking her in the eyes. Because I thought I was overreacting. I didn't trust my instinct. I won't make that mistake again. My dad's voice was low and heavy. I should have never let you get dragged into my past. I shook my head. You protected us your whole life. Tonight I finally understood why you were always alert. You weren't paranoid. You were prepared. He reached for my hand. You were brave, but I didn't feel brave. I felt raw, vulnerable, human. Survival wasn't strength. Survival was fear and forward motion tangled together. Later, when doctors cleared them and officers finished taking statements, we walked out of the hospital together. The early morning sky was a soft gray, quiet and heavy. I watched a police car drive away with dark tinted windows. I hoped Sammy was safe. I hoped he knew what he did mattered. I thought about the moment the waiter slipped me the napkin, the way my stomach twisted with instinct before my mind caught up. We always think danger announces itself with screaming alarms and flashing lights. But sometimes danger whispers. Sometimes it folds itself inside a polite restaurant and looks like trust. And sometimes the person who saves you appears quietly, with shaking hands and terrified eyes, and you don't realize until later how close you came to never going home again. Tonight, I learned that instincts are not fear. They are protection. Trust them. Listen to them. They are your first warning and your last chance. If you watched this till now, remember this. Never ignore the feeling that something is wrong, and never underestimate the stranger who decides to help when everyone else stays silent. Before you go, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Stay aware, stay safe, and trust your instincts. They might save your life one day.